All right. Video flipped over here. All right, guys. I think we're up on everything right now.
All right, just getting the questions pulled up here.
Yep.
What are we? 103?
103.
Okay. Welcome, everyone, to the 034 Motorsport Live and episode 103. As always, a question and answer session. Ask us anything style session. And here to answer all your 034 Motorsport related product and service questions. Any questions about the company, any questions about our experience, anything you'd like to know about general automotive, anything, controversial topics.
Yep. Questions or information you want on our what we do, our products, how the products come to be.
Mm-hmm. Are these all last week questions or this week questions?
These are all last week.
Okay, can we move on to the last week section? Anyways, I forgot what I was talking about because the question thing's all screwed up. If you haven't heard about our fuck inflation sale, please check it out. I know a lot of people have been taking advantage of it. We've had some great prices on many products. Not all products, but the needle we're trying to thread here is we don't want to just put everything on sale and stock out. We'd like to have products in stock throughout the summer, fall, and for when you all need performance products for your vehicle. And our goal is to just be in stock with as many of our popular best-selling products as possible. There are some products where we have some extra stock. This extra stock is not excess or overstock, but it's enough stock that if we sell out of it, we would have enough time to reorder it, and we would have enough of a supply to get us to the point when we could expect to have more product in stock. In that case, we're putting those extra above that minimum inventory position products, that extra inventory on sale until it's gone. So there may have been something you were interested in that was on sale on one day, and then the next day it wasn't because you waited too long and it sold out of that. So if you'd like to get in on anything that's on sale currently, please take advantage of it. This isn't a normal sale where everything's on sale for 3 weeks and then the sale ends. We're not sure when the sale will end, but it's while supplies last type thing. So as things sell out, then we will turn off the sale for those items specifically. Realistically, we will probably continue this throughout the month, but individual products, there's products right now that are probably being turned off. So, which is a report that we were going to report. We've also had mostly unanimous positive feedback on the name fuck inflation. A few people have been offended by the word fuck.
We apologize for the.
We're really fucking sorry for that, and I feel fucking terrible for anyone who really is offended by the word fuck.
Yeah.
But I think it's like Olivia Rodrigo is using fuck in songs and Taylor Swift. So I mean, there's a good chance your 13-year-old daughter is listening to the word fuck in music today. So it's not that big of a deal, and we're just trying to have some fun here. So hopefully people aren't being too serious. But maybe they need to fucking chill out a little bit. So anyways, we're going to hop into some questions here. And looks like we got a lot of questions rolling in for this week. So we're just going to start there. Someone's asking, I'm looking for a high octane fuel for the 3.0 TFSI 104 tune. I see a lot of oxygenated and leaded fuel. Is that safe to run? And if not, what should I be looking for?
It'd be great if you could specify which 3.0 T you're referring to here. I'm going to guess B8 on this one.
I think when people say TFSI, they mean B8. Is there any right?
I'm not sure.
That seems.
I feel like that's usually what it is.
Yeah. Usually we'll specify what fuel. In this case, Sunoco GT260 Plus is what was calibrated for, which is a lightly oxygenated fuel. So it's going to be basically the same as like an MS-109. When you see a 104 octane tune, that's pretty much going to be the two different fuels that are most commonly used.
But leaded,
Leaded, certainly not.
we do not recommend running leaded in any of these engines. One, the O2 sensors, it will greatly reduce their life. You can do it, but it will be reduced by some amount. And also, modern engines, there's other things. I'm not sure how much. I've never had valve seats wear out because of leaded fuel, but
They're not. They're certainly not designed.
they're not designed to have lead
catalysts, the sensors, all of that. It's just not going to play well.
And-
And there's no need for it with a proper
Yeah.
race fuel.
No, with good fuels now. And I mean, not that breathing exhaust fumes is good for you, but having lead in it's even worse. So,
Yeah, slightly.
but there's, like Nate said, there's no reason for it.
But yeah, it would be yeah. If you ever have a question, feel free to always hit up our tech support app. But yeah, Sunoco GT 260 Plus or MF 109 are kind of the two go-tos. We'll calibrate for.
What a nightmare leaded fuel was. There's like half of San Francisco is like still polluted.
Yep.
From the dirt's down like however many feet.
Yep.
I just got stage 1 ECU TCU for my 2014 S5. Love it. No issues whatsoever. These are the kind of questions
I'm okay with that.
Yeah,
Statement
thank you.
versus a question.
That makes us feel very good. Thank you. That's why we do what we do.
Yep.
Just a question about your MQB ball joints. Do you know if they will work with my Brembo big brake kit? We do have a fitment tab. We are doing our best. I don't know. We don't know off the top of our head. So just check the product page and look under fitments. We did make them fit with the Racing Line big brake kit.
Yeah, there's so many kits
But
out there.
I know a lot of kits don't fit. So it just depends on how much offset the rotor uses. So,
Yeah, how much it tucks around that stock ball joint.
yeah. But yeah, check out the fitment tab. For customers that have had them not fit, who have contacted us, thank you. They've at least given us that information, and we've been able to update the page. We're not trying to sell ball joints to anyone. Well, they won't fit their car.
Yeah.
People are asking about B9.5 stage 2 TCU.
We are working on it.
Yes, we have a car here. We're working.
Yep.
Updates for ALC and anti-lag for B9S4.
It's another. We are working.
We're working on it.
Yep.
I have the B9S4 stage 1 ECU and TCU. Okay, sorry. I have the B9S4 ECU stage 1 and TCU stage 2 tunes from you. Love them, except the TCU tune has a weird and sudden cut in power when upshifting. I have had the IE and EPL tunes before on the same car, and the trans feels like a DSG shifting with no cuts in power during shifting. Is this on purpose?
That's a really tough one to suss out quite what you're experiencing. So maybe I would say hit up our tech support line, maybe try and get a video of it, or we might request logs to see what's going on. I certainly can't think of why. I mean, the stage 2 TCU is going to have a much quicker shift, and it will do. There will be more times where you're going to get an ignition cut strategy or a fuel cut strategy. So you'll hear the DSG like fart when it shifts.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe that's what it is. I'm not entirely sure. But yeah, reach out to our tech support line. We can hopefully help see what's going on there.
Yeah, we're here to help. Flex fuel for MQB. We've had some progress on that.
Oh yeah,
Good.
Yep. We are well underway with that right now.
Yeah, we're working on that and actively working on it like right now.
Yeah.
So
Yep.
The idea is to get something to market out soon. B9S5 on your E85 stage 1 tune. The gas station I usually use tests at E70 consistently. I have found another station that tests at E85. Should I start getting fuel at the E85 station? Is it worth driving another 15 minutes to get it?
No, E70 should be fine.
E70's great, and it further maximizes your fuel system capacity. So
Yeah,
no,
yeah, it's going to give you a little bit more headroom in the amount of fuel. Well, you need a little bit less fuel, so you've got a little more overhead for your pumps and injectors and things. So no, E70 is fine. You're not gonna have any degradation in performance or anything like that. So
the more E content in your fuel, the harder the fuel system has to work.
Yep.
How long can I run E85 for on my B9S4 stage 1? Should I run pump gas now and again? I mean, we get this question.
Yeah, we haven't.
We don't have a solid answer.
We don't have a solid answer. We have not seen any issues right now on the B9. Uh, with what?
One guy has had injector failures, not really certain on.
Yeah, but there's nothing root. There's no root cause of it. It's not a epidemic of any kind that correlates. But so yeah, I mean, we've run it straight for many miles. So yeah, without any other data at this point, we don't have a like you should switch back to gasoline at X number of miles.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, we've talked about this before a number of times. Ethanol is not nearly as good of a solvent as gasoline.
It can gum things up more.
So, there is water in ethanol. It's water soluble. So, if that water gets in your fuel, it's going to have to burn off and things like that. So, it's probably not a bad idea just from a carbon standpoint to run a tank of gas like every few months just to help clean it up. But there's no port injection either.
Yeah,
so.
we don't have a solid guideline on that.
No,
it's been very trouble free for us.
Love these live Q&As. You guys are awesome. Thank you.
Thank you.
We love doing them. I actually do look forward to doing them. Most items under B9S4 on the website are like 50% off. Is this accurate? No, definitely not. We do not have the margin. I think we're giving like 5 to 10%.
Or you're seeing 50% off.
So if you're an employee here and you have employee pricing somehow, you could be seeing that on some products. We do give a really good pricing.
Certainly not all of them.
But no, our sale is it's about 5 to 10% on most items. We have a handful of products that are higher than that. Are 4.2 engine mounts ever going to happen? Yes, they are happening.
What?
They are on their way to
I
us,
haven't heard that.
and we will be releasing them soon. The issue that we observed last year during our testing, we re-engineered the mount. That's why it's so delayed, but we fundamentally changed the structure of the mount, and that subsequently passed all of our testing. And inventory is on the way, and I think we could release those soon. I don't know if you guys discussed that last week, but they're coming, yes. And then we also have,
I think they're needed.
we have motorsport mounts coming soon as well. So we will have all of our great options available on the market. Any specs you can share about the turbo inlet for the S4, S5, B9? Yeah, so we're gonna have two. One will be so it will be a stock sized inlet. So from the intake, it will be the same. So all of our current intakes will bolt right up to it. It has a maximized inner diameter and a smoother, bigger inner bore. And then it goes into the factory throttle body, and there is a choice of an adapter that adapts it down to stock, or another adapter that adapts it up to one of the bigger hybrid turbo sizes on the market. This is a bolt-in for either stock or some hybrid turbos, and it flows more than stock, but not a lot more than stock, because there's only so much you can do with kind of the stock format. We tested some other options on the market, and they flow worse than stock, or as the same or worse than stock. So some of these upgrades they just downgrade your wallet, $100 or $200. We have a super duper option coming, which is So I just got a note on 4.2 motor mounts. It's looking like a month or two, so we should be in good shape there. They're definitely coming. So sorry, going back to the B9 3.2 throttle body inlet, we have a super duper option, which is a much bigger inlet. So it will not fit with the factory airbox or any intakes that fit with the factory airbox. And it has a series of adapters that are bigger than the stock turbo, up to the biggest option on the market that we could find. It flows a lot more than stock, and it fully supports like TT 710 and 810 power levels. we will offer that product, the inlet, and then we will offer larger bore intake adapters for our intakes. So this is the connector piece that goes from the air filter to the throttle body inlet. These are bigger, higher flowing units than the ones that we supply with our current intakes. So we will also have super duper intake options as well. Starts getting complicated because you just get into all these permutations of different parts. But the super duper is coming. We hope to have it to market, in the next few months, maybe 3 months. And currently, and we've said this, if somebody really wants one or needs one, we can do a plastic 3D printed high temperature production part.
Yeah, it's basically a rapid manufacture of an OEM engineering grade plastic.
This is the same thing that you see in factory OEM cars. It's not cheap. I think we could sell you one for like $500, which is basically what it costs us. Our production part will be like half that price. It'll be a lot less. It'll be cast aluminum. But we have made a few of those for people who really wanted one. That's what we've been doing all our testing with, and it works great. So that's what we have coming, and I think we're just a little late to the party. But once we release the super duper parts for the B931T, I think we'll have the best options on the market. And then we are working on a whole super duper intake, which is designed to flow over 1,000 horsepower for some of these even bigger full frame options coming in the future, or some of the bigger hybrids that I'm sure are coming as well. Full E85 coming for B8S4 anytime soon. I don't believe we've ever said we would do that.
No, and we've talked about it a lot here.
We talk about it.
The fuel system is really out of capacity on E40, so and then the gains are pretty diminishing to go much beyond E40 up to E85. So it hasn't really been a priority. We don't think you're going to get any, or the testing we've done, you're not going to get any real power out of that change. It would just be a convenience thing only. And with the fuel system being completely tapped out, you'd have to run. I mean, you can maybe do it on like stage 1 and 2 power, but yeah, it's nothing that we've committed to, because it's something that's not needed and the hardware is just not there for it.
Yeah, I mean, the reality is, if we did one, it would be reduced power.
Yeah,
just like if you go look at our B9 stage 3 tunes, the full E85 makes less power than our
which is a really difficult, or very, you could say, bad way to do that on a supercharged motor, because what you're then doing to reduce power is bleeding air around the supercharger, which means you're bleeding hot air back to the inlet of the supercharger, and you're reheating it again. So you end up with a quite a bit less efficient setup. So yeah, they're just some of the trade-offs you have to kind of weave your way through for what we can support on these platforms.
What does B9? That's a good question. What does B9 RS5 not having stage 2 mean for the platform? Is it capped off at stage 1 plus? And will it mean that bolt-on would be the only way to improve that from stage 1 plus power? Okay, B9 RS5 can have stage 2. It just doesn't make any more power.
Yeah.
Why? Because the factory cats are not a restriction. So this is actually a good thing. It's not necessarily a bad thing. It means that you, the customer, don't have to spend $2,000 or $3,000 on high flow cats to get the same power and performance. Thankfully, the factory gave you something that works.
Yeah.
The next step up in power is going to be hybrid turbos. The TT 720 will be our next offering, and we believe that at that point, racing cats for racing use will generate more power than the factory cats at that level. We don't know yet, but that's our hypothesis.
Find out when
we'll find out. The B9 RS5 is a turbocharged engine, and the beautiful thing about turbocharging is the turbochargers are the power adder device. You can go in and, let's say, port and polish the heads and put bigger valves in and stroke it out to 3 liters, and you could go into the motor and do all that stuff, and you might gain another like 20 horsepower. Or you could just run like a fraction of PSI more boost and make the same amount of power.
Yeah.
So the power your engine makes is 100% dictated by the turbochargers and how much power they can produce. In this
And
case,
they're also the biggest restriction on the motor too. So all those optimizations you can make on the head, you've got a cork at the end of it that is the turbo too. So it's a very different kind of optimization you've got to think of.
yeah, those optimizations really would only pay off with bigger turbos.
Yeah.
But bigger turbos by themselves will also make a lot of power. So you're just kind of stuck with a turbo motor of just optimizing the turbo and putting a bigger turbo on it or making it smaller. But like all the other modifications that you could possibly do they're just marginal compared to just what the turbocharger is doing on its. So in this case, if you want to make more power, you can. You're just going to need bigger turbos, and that's a good thing. I mean, there's bolt-on turbos that drive like factory that make a lot more power.
Yep.
And so that's the next step available to you. But I would discourage you from going and wasting a lot of time and money trying to get more power on stage one by optimizing various things. Just you need it. You need the Wagner intercooler. You need our intake.
Yep.
It doesn't matter what exhaust you have. Again, the least restrictive high flowing exhaust in the world might make another 10 horsepower or 5 horsepower. So, it's up to you, but chances are it's not costing you.
It's definitely diminishing returns.
Yeah. So save your money, save your energy, and jump into TT 720. For the time being, enjoy a fucking fast car that's smog legal, basically. That's not polluting any more than it did when it was stock. I've spent quite a bit of time in our car on E85. It's just a straight up fast car. It's world class fast. This is with 2 bolt-ons, 3 bolt-ons.
And it's a very short mod list.
Yeah. So it's a good time to be into RS5, and even more is coming. So if you can have a little patience, don't stress about stage 2, because it's a good thing. Like I said, you already got you got
there's no
performance benefit.
There's nothing
on stage 1,
right?
So and 1+. How many months out is your stage 3 RS5 tune? We don't have a date for that, but it is one of the next things we'll be working on. The RS5 market is not very big. Nothing like some of the other markets we're in, so we have to be careful of putting too much time and energy into it. We have to prioritize it accordingly, but we are working on it.
Mm-hmm.
And the 2.9T is an important platform for us, and we are 100% supporting it. But we just wish there was a little bit more business there.
Yeah.
But we're doing it regardless. And it's a wonderful. I think if anyone was on the fence about whether they should buy an RS5 or
it's huge.
This tune alone completely changes that. Is E85 safe on the B9 RS5? Yes. There's no reason to think that it's not safe.
Yeah.
RS4, basically all factory Volkswagen Audi vehicles have very high quality fuel systems that are extremely corrosion resistant, that are either made of fuel tolerant plastics or stainless steel or metals that are coated to properly handle any kind of fuel.
Yep. Yeah, and if
factory cars come with flex fuel with ethanol capabilities, so it's just built into the whole program.
Yeah.
I can't speak for Ford or Chevy or Kia. I don't know, but all we can, it may be that other car brands and makes out there, people are having to make major system upgrades.
Yeah, I'm not sure, but I don't
Audi.
think there's any real fundamental changes when you switch between an Audi that came with flex fuel versus not. The lines are the same material and construction.
I think
Pumps
an
are the
Audi
same.
4000 Quattro would have had
That might have
issues
had
with
some
it
issues, yeah.
because those had mild steel fuel lines. Literally, they were coated on the
They were
outside,
so bad.
but the inside, and they would rust out all the time and start leaking. But all new cars have nylon fuel lines that lead from the back of the car forward, and that's nylon's resistant to everything.
Yeah, and then if you're on any 85 on the RS5, we do have a plus file, so that with high pressure fuel pump. So if you really want to get the most out of it, you'll want the pump in there too.
Yeah, it's safe without the pump.
Yeah, no, it's calibrated either way. We just offer you're gonna get a little more power without with the pump in there.
It's a performance. I don't want to conflate the
exactly.
pressure
Yeah.
fuel pump with safety. That's about performance.
Yep.
Stage feed B9 3.0T files for stock cat. That's
That is
coming up.
next on our list.
Yeah. So
For that-
we're
for that
excited to
platform.
offer that, and we believe that there will be a very nice, powerful, clean running package there.
Actually, the last question that just came in: what is the next tune and feature that will be released for the B9? That's going to be the stock catalyst stage 3 stuff, and then you're going to start seeing bigger turbos.
Thoughts on oil coolers, lower temp oil and coolant thermostats for the B9? I mean, can you just link them to last week? We spoke for like 20 minutes about it.
Yep.
I mean, I went into really, really detail. I don't want to do that all over again.
Yeah. Keep in mind too, a lot of these temperature controls and coolers and thermostats are kind of a thing of the past. So much of that is now controlled by the ECU, as far as what the thermal management of the engine is going to be. It's less and less are the days of wax pill thermostats that are just straight temperature based. There's a lot more controls going on now.
Is there a full E85 map with more power coming for the TT710? I'm currently running the E85 file because I hate mixing, but leaving a lot on the table. I mean, you're not leaving
a
that
lot.
much.
I mean, it's fast as hell.
I mean, what is it? What is the difference? Like 30, 40 hits?
It's
But as a functional
some,
percentage,
but
it's not that much.
Um,
But
there's a reason we're not running fully 85 with a full amount of power. It's all of the fuel system is basically tapped out there.
But yes, in the future, someday there will be full E85.
There's going to be
It's going to require, augmenting the fuel system in some type of way.
Yeah.
But don't expect anything in the next 6 months from us.
It's about 75 horsepower and 75 pounds of torque.
Yeah, so about 10%.
Right.
But I don't.
643 to 720, so it's
Yeah,
still
it's still
Yeah, so but you're making 643. Is that crank?
crank.
just crank.
643 crank versus 710. I mean, that's not a big difference as far as like acceleration when you feel, but there's a difference there.
But yeah, no, there's just hardware limitations. So yeah, until there's until we've got more calibrations out with more fuel delivery available, there's just mathematically not enough fuel there for you.
I'm going to be getting rid of my B8S4. Any recommendations for a next car? I'm thinking RS3. I mean, I know what I would say.
Be nice.
I'd say B9S4. I mean,
Yeah,
I don't even think RS3s can keep
the tuning
up.
one is going to be hot and heavy with those for a while.
If you're interested in having a bigger car that I would say is better quality and drives and feels more like an Audi, the S4 sedan is a great choice. If you're looking
It's a
for
good point.
something
They-
small
They
and
drive very different.
smaller, and I wouldn't even say more tossable, but I mean it does have a shorter wheelbase. The kind of more of like a front wheel drive, shorter wheelbase driving experience. The RS3 is good. And then are you talking what generation? Because the new generation we're not sure exactly what's going to be possible.
Yeah,
Yet.
yeah.
You could get an 8V.5 RS3, and you can do all the things that you could do with that. But I really like the S4.
Yeah, I mean there's such different cars. If you haven't had seat time in them, I'd say drive the new S4, drive the new RS3.
Well, I think the B9 S4 is like a B8 S4, but just
Yes, no, they're saying but to a RS3,
Yes,
they're very different platforms. They drive entirely different. They feel different. They're a much simpler suspension setup.
Yeah.
So they're just very different feeling and handling vehicles.
Do you have the TTE 710 turbos in stock already? Waiting eagerly. We do not. We will though. We have many on order.
We are waiting
More
eagerly as
coming.
well.
It takes TTE a while to make these things, so they quote like basically 2 months after you order them. So I think we should have some in stock hopefully in about a month or so, and then after that we will do our best to keep them in stock. We've been selling quite a few of people anticipating, so this is what we said last week. But if you would like to buy a TT 710, we're pretty much your best option. If you order from TTE, you're gonna have to wait the full amount.
So they're done with our orders.
But if you buy from us, you're going to get in line for one of the first ones that are coming. So, and like I said, that line is growing by the day. We sold a couple this weekend too, so people are jumping on it. And then we just keep ordering more on the back end of it. They're not cheap. These are really, really big POs. Will there be a stage 193 file for RS3? Currently only have 91 or E85 available on my portal.
I gotta look at that. There should be one. Yes. Contact.
I thought we had that.
Yeah, contact tech support. We'll have to see. Maybe it was
Email
just
tuning tuning at
I'm sorry.
024.
Yeah, tuning at zero support. But yes, we should have something for you.
I have a 2018 TTRS on your Dynamic Plus lowering springs and want to get a set of your ZTF wheels. Do you recommend your 18 or 19? Sweet. Basically, we offer the 18 and 19 depending on what you're looking for. So the 18-inch puts you into a class of tires that are a little cheaper. There's typically much more and better sizing options in 18-inch tires. So if you're looking to do like track tires, R compound tires, you're going to spend less money and have more options in an 18-inch size. What you're going to end up with is a bigger sidewall, which doesn't look as fire or fresh or minty. And it could be a little sus, depending on the definition.
The crowd you hang out with.
Yeah, but the 19 is going to be more in line with what the car came with and the factory, type of look and sizing. You're going to get into those 30 series sidewalls. I would say another thing to consider is what are the roads that you're driving on the street. If you live in an area that has rough roads and potholes, by far the 18-inch is going to give you the best driving experience. The 19, if you're on smoother roads with less irregularities, then you're gonna be fine with the 19. And the 19 still gives you plenty of sidewalk to be safe. Once you get into 20s, you're on rubber bands at that point. And that's when you really can damage your wheels and stuff if you hit something. I would say, as far as performance goes, an argument could be made that the car would probably be faster and handle better on the 18-inch.
Yeah.
Time and time again. And if you look at F1 cars, for example, there's a lot going.
Yeah, there's reasons those tires are this size.
They have balloon tires, and most of their suspension and compliance is in the tire. A lot of it, and actually on a road car too, on a street car, a lot of your suspension, the compliance that insulates you from the road, is the action of the tires, not. I've read that up to 50% of the damping and compliance that you feel is from the tires.
It's very noticeable if you go from a stiff, low-profile tire to one size down on the wheel and it could even be the same tire, but you're gonna feel a difference immediately between the two.
So what's really interesting? I've really gotten into cycling the last couple of years, and it used to be like in the 80s and 90s that the tiniest, skinniest tire was fastest, and that's just what people assumed based on like common sense and logic. That a small tire pumped up to like 150 psi would be really hard and roll really good and actually be faster. But the science now, if you want to read up on it, there's like labs that study this for bike tires because Tour de France and everything. But the fastest tire is actually like a 28 mil tire, and the tires go down to like 20 to 23 mil. But most of the pros now are riding on 28 mil because a road is not a perfectly flat surface, and they also aren't pumping them up to like 200 psi either. So the tire's compliance allows it to roll over those irregularities with less energy. And this is what we see in road cars, and road tires are very studied, heavily studied, especially with all the racing that goes on. And an 18-inch tire with, say, like a 40 series sidewall with the right air pressure in it and the right camber and alignment settings is going to give you the most grip you could ever want from a tire. So anyways, I think it comes down to, though, is the 18-inch is great for track day guys who want access to cheaper Arcon tires.
And you're not giving up performance either. There's
and no loss of performance.
Yeah, people will say, "Oh, my turn is sharper with the lower profile tires." That's not. I don't think you could measure an actual difference. What you will feel and measure is generally you're going to lose that lateral grip earlier. You're not going to have as much cornering grip with a lower profile tire. So, yeah, they do feel different, but I would say the 18 is going to be the way to go if you're performance oriented?
I want to be in line when TTE tunes come out for Daza. Cool. That's something we're planning on doing. What was it? The
700.
700. So the car with the 700 is actually running this week. So hopefully that'll happen. This is a good question. What's one of 034's biggest lessons learned through the years? I guess we could phrase it from individually. Like, what's the biggest lesson? I'd like to hear what you have to say, if you have something.
Oh boy. I guess, I mean, my biggest thing is like, don't worry about following others. Have some confidence and faith in yourself that, just because somebody else isn't doing it, and you've got ideas to kind of grab onto them, see them through, and sometimes they work, sometimes they don't. But just because it's not being done necessarily the way you're doing it, or at all, doesn't mean it's a bad idea. So
It's a really good one.
that's
This is, I'm very rebellious and petulant. So forever, I mean, since the beginning of 034, I've always been like, let's just do the thing that nobody else is doing.
yeah.
And over years, people have come and gone throughout the company and been like, we can't do that. That won't work. Nobody else is doing it. And just like, watch us, motherfucker. And
Sorry about that word again.
yeah. But no, that's a great lesson.
Yeah,
and
and
I
it's
mean,
something
you've been a great
Yeah,
partner.
and it's something internally I may struggle with or whatnot. Is it's tough to forge a new path, and we only got so much time, and with what we're working on, and am I wasting time doing this thing, or is it going to pay off, and let us open the doors to this whole new technology or whatever it is we're developing.
Mhm.
So yeah, have some faith in yourself and
Yeah.
move forward.
No, and the beauty is when you forge your own path, you own it. You're now
Inside and out. Yeah,
You know.
yeah. You know everything about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're not just riding on someone's coattails and then maybe knowing what's going on at the end of it.
Mhm. Yeah, and that's what we've been able to do a lot at 034 is we go a different route, and then now we're setting the terms for success in this new product or concept or idea that we created, and we're not stuck behind APR or whoever was the market leader at the time. I would say, I mean, the thing that keeps coming up for me as the leader of 034 and kind of the person that's been this whole thing's been on my shoulders the whole time and still is for me it's been personal accountability. Taking being realistic about what if I don't like something, if I'm upset about something that's happened, looking to myself to see what am I doing to contribute to this, what can I be doing differently to create a better outcome or scenario for me and everyone else. And I think for a long time, up to the point where we had some big struggles in kind of the 2010 to 2015 range, was me blaming everyone else for all the problems.
Sure.
If something didn't work, if something wasn't happening correctly, I had someone trusted steal from me, and for a while I was really mad at them that they were this terrible person who did this to me, and they were. I mean, they were terrible, but I couldn't stop there. I had to then say, well, how am I going to set up the company differently so that no one can steal, and how are there going to be checks and balances, and ultimately doing that and taking that responsibility has made a really nice 10-year span of nobody stealing from the company, and also people in positions where they have financial or they have responsibility that they feel comfortable that they can't be accused of stealing because we have these checks and balances in place where everyone is protected. The company, me, them, we are all protected. So I think personal accountability is the biggest lesson I've learned, and I see so many people out there struggling with the same problems and the same issues in life, and their solution is to point the finger and blame everyone else, and they're not doing anything to take control of how they can make it.
I think that's just such a cultural thing that is missing. Is like you own what you're doing. Like, the world isn't made of guardrails that only steer you down the perfect path. Like, you have to make choices. You have a responsibility to do the right thing and make, smart choices.
Yeah, I mean, none of us deserve to get exactly what we want. I mean, maybe we think we deserve it, but we won't. So that's just, you hear the cliche of, world's not fair and all that stuff. But what is fair is you have the ability to make choices and to do things differently. And so if you don't like a situation, you can stop it, you can change it, you can disconnect from it, you can shift your position and all of a sudden be okay with something that you weren't okay. But it's personal accountability.
Yeah, and I think it's also there needs to be more, just, I don't know, socially, again, like, just, it's okay to make mistakes. Like, that's another thing that people struggle with a lot, and I think that's why they just need to react to blaming someone, is that they think they can't make a mistake, or they'll be, punished, or,
They can't admit they made a mistake.
Exactly. Yeah.
That's
yeah,
what
and then just deflect to all these other, like, excuses.
Yeah.
You just like, I messed up. Sorry. Like, I'm not going to do it again.
Yeah.
Let's work on how it happened.
That's a really good point. I think another way of saying the lesson that I just said is to admit when you're wrong. And I think if you want other people's respect, I think this is an interesting thing people do, right? Everybody wants other people's respect. And so one of the ways they do that is never admitting they made a mistake, thinking that if anyone ever thinks that they made a mistake, that nobody will like them. So they just make everyone around them hate them by never admitting they do anything.
Fake perfection is not going to garner you many friends.
But one of the most endearing, likable things a person can do is to say, I made a mistake, I fucked up, when they fuck up.
And especially if you come at it,
people get it.
If you come at it like preemptively, like, hey guys, I messed something up.
Yeah, you come back.
Here's what happened. This is how I'm going to fix it.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're gonna get a lot more points in the world.
Mm. Sorry, it wasn't about car tuning or anything, but we've learned a lot of that stuff too. But what makes it all work is these personal,
pretty high level questions. So.
Yeah, it was. For the B8.5 carb approved stage 1 tune, is it any different than the regular stage 1 tune, or is it the same file?
It's basically the same file. There's no reason we really make either different. You'll see you'll see a stage 1 and then a stage 1 carb file. The stage 1 carb file is often its own category because it's limited in the octane it can offer. Then there's like some very minor differences in some of the pedal mapping and the way the pedal response is. But power output, all of the fueling strategies, all of the timing tables, everything's the same across them. So you're going to you put your foot down, you're going to get the same acceleration as you on either file.
Legally, if you want to be compliant, you have to run the carb file.
So,
but in practice, the pollution that they both put out is the same as factory.
It's frustrating because I ideally the stage 1 files would all be carb compliant, but I cannot get a clear answer on alternate octanes and what we are able to provide under the carb banner. Because they have to be tested or be able to be tested, and you can't just run a like 93 or 100 octane file on a 91 octane fuel. That's what they have to use in the CARB emissions testing center. So I've got people that have told me, yeah, it's fine, you can just do this and that, and then I'm like, okay, well, how do we test it? And then they just kind of give me a blank stare. So it's a challenge we have to navigate. But that's why you see carb specific file, that is your road legal carb exempt file. Yeah, and it's only a 91 octane.
Man, there's a lot of questions.
It's a lot of questions.
Yeah. Can you go through what is in development for Mark 8 Golf R? So a lot of our Mark 7 Golf R parts fit the Mark 8 and performed optimally because the car's not that different.
It's an evolution of the 7.
The dashboard and the MMI system is very different. But we are working on specific Dynamic Plus lowering springs for that application. ETA's probably 3 to 4 months out at least. We are currently working on bringing the racing line springs into the US. But I will warn you that those are very low and very stiff. And ours will be tuned much different than that. But I would say if you're interested in the Dynamic Plus experience, just wait till we release ours if you can. As far as like ETAs and stuff right now, we are still in the testing and design phase. So, we we actually do test this stuff and we do actually make changes. So if the first one comes back perfect somehow, which it almost never does, then it would be quicker, but chances are there's going to be a few iterations. We're going to take our time, making sure that we bring the best product to market. Should I be running 0W20 or 5W40 in my stage 2 3B9 3.0T? Lubricating property differences over 212F. I would just run the factory oil. I don't think we know enough or have any reason to run anything else at this point.
No.
The factory spec oils. If you are operating in very, very hot environments with high heat, you could run a thinner oil.
I'd have to look at the
slightly thicker oil.
The OEMs used to publish too like a chart of recommended weights depending on conditions and things, and different chassis sometimes will get a little different oil recommendation. So there's a myriad out there. General consensus is you run a slightly heavier oil on high temp stuff, high strain, but I wouldn't steer too far away from the OEM recommendations.
Yeah, I mean, SQ5s came with 5W, S4s came with 0. So who knows? Maybe SQ5s are heavier and the engine sees more load, so they put a little heavier oil. I don't think it'll matter though. Our cold start deletes fine in the winter, temps down to -30.
Cold start deletes are not a thing. It's just not a thing. I don't know why would you delete a vehicle's ability to start in the cold.
Is somebody doing that?
No. What I think what people get confused by is they're running a test pipe file for racing purposes, and there is a catalyst heating stage.
That's different.
That is completely different than cold starts. It's correlated because when you start the engine cold, you hear the catalyst preheat.
Yeah.
But that's nothing to do with the engine's function to start.
Let's talk for a minute about that. So when an engine starts, it needs a certain amount of fuel to create combustion that turns the crankshaft and ultimately it propagates.
The very surprising amount of more additional fuel.
So when an engine is cold, it needs a lot more fuel to start than when it's warm. There's a lot of different reasons for this, but if there is a air and water temperature map. Well, there's many in these ECUs, but in a standalone ECU, you may have one map for water temp, one map for air temp, and then you can change the amount of fuel and timing based on the water temp or air temp of the engine. Yep. You could add oil temp to it as well.
Yeah.
But yes, what the map would do is the colder it gets, the more fuel injection is augmented to be richer. Now it won't be rich in the combustion chamber, but it'll be injecting more fuel.
Yeah.
So if you don't have a cold start map, your engine will never start. I mean, it won't even. The amount of fuel that it consumes, say at normal operating temperature, is a fraction of what it needs to start. So if you didn't have a water temp map in the ECU, the engine would never start.
Yeah, I mean, we're talking like on in it. So back to what the OEMs are dealing with, everything is modeled or censored down to the level of what is your intake runner tube temperature, what is your basically your effective cylinder charge air temperature. Not just air temp coming in, but once it's compressed, once taking into account the cylinder head temperature, maybe the piston temperatures, whatever else is modeled. It uses all of that to determine what the required fuel mixture is going to be. Then in addition to that is, well, am I cranking right now? Is it a really low RPM? Do I need to light this off with, very low air velocity? So without any of that, if that was all flat tabled out and just you have your one fueling parameter that you're going to be running while the motor's warm, you're never going to start that engine. And if you've ever tuned a standalone, you'll quickly see that your enrichment at low RPM, low coolant temperature, low engine temperature is a very big, it's like a hockey stick kick up to get enough fuel in there to let it off. So
let's move on. But we have cold start.
Cold start's there.
You cannot delete that. Nope. Otherwise, you'll just have an engine.
It'll crank all day.
The raised idle one's different.
And that's also part of the catalyst heating function.
Yeah, but the engine has to idle at a certain speed, and it is. And when the engine's cold, there is augmentation
Yep.
in the
There's-
ECU
there's
to keep
also-
it idling at that RPM.
There's also temperature-based idle.
Yeah. So there is idle cold start. What's missing is all related to heating up the cat, 100%.
Yeah.
This is the other thing. Like when the engine oil is cold, there's a lot more frictional loss, so the engine just doesn't even want to turn over. So you have to give it a lot more air to just maintain that idle RPM. Once the engine warms up, you can start closing the throttle body and and maintain the same idle. So you'll be at 800 RPM the whole time. But when it's cold, the throttle opening will be this much, and then it tapers off. So this is all going on in the ECU. But if you don't have cats, you don't need any of the cat heating stuff, which is what everyone hears and associates with. Everything else you don't know what's happening because it's just making the engine run and idle like normal. If you've never tuned an ECU, you wouldn't know.
Right.
Any of that.
Yeah, it's there's a lot going on behind the scenes to keep things just normal.
Yeah. Will there be a sale during the Summerfest car show? We will be doing something. Stay tuned. We don't disclose what we do for sales, but yes, every year we've ever had Summerfest, there's been some type of sale associated with it. So, what else? Do you guys supply blue air filters with your intakes or only red? We don't supply any red intake filters.
I think this guy, 2010.
We used to
I
supply
did have some
like an AEM filter before we started making our own.
Wait.
No, they went.
Oh,
they bought
there was a
K&N.
batch of red. Yes.
AEM acquired K&N's air filter division, and then all their
Yep.
air filters started looking like K&N air filters. And at that point, we were like, screw it, let's make our own. But all our filters currently are kind of this natural cotton gray color, and that's the only we don't get into colors on their filters. There's no need for them. Is there going to be a 034 Motorsport low pressure fuel pump for the V8.5 3.0 TS4 coming out soon?
For the B8.5?
Yeah, I mean
low pressure.
We're going to be offering the universal kit,
The surge tank you're talking
the
about.
surge tank. Yes, so it'll be a surge tank. So stay tuned for that. Water meth injection. We've talked about that so many times. I would say just link them back to the YouTubes. I have 275 30/20s on my B9 S5, and I feel like I'm sacrificing performance in handling and acceleration. Is this true? Yeah, I mean, it's like we talked about. You're getting a harsher ride, and you have a less compliant tire. I don't know how much performance you're losing.
Yeah, performance is really
acceleration.
tough to measure because what
Yeah.
wheel, what tire package. I mean, you can vary, 30, 40 pounds a corner depending on wheel and tire combos.
It's tough to say. Generally, making things lighter helps everything, and having more sidewall. Although 275/30 is not no sidewall, it's a nice amount of sidewall because of the 275 section width. But I don't think you're giving a lot up, but it's possible, and we would need to know. Plans for MQB high pressure fuel pump upgrade? Yes, that is coming. Unfortunately, we should have done that one much sooner, but we are working on it. We will have our piston upgrade just like everything the other ones we have.
We just have a couple minutes here, guys. We're
TTE 440 tune for B9A4. That's not even on our radar right now.
not yet.
We would first do stock turbo tunes. Right. That's pretty low priority for us. Some of these other questions. Someone says I installed lowering springs on my B9 S5 Sportback. The shop had to shave down a lower stopping point for the rear set. Is this common feedback from shops? I've never heard this. Please email tech support at 034motorsport.com with any information. We'd love to hear about that. Sometimes shops do things they don't need to, but we would need to know more.
We'd like to see it.
But no, I've never heard that. That's never been escalated as a common complaint. Someone's asking about if we want to work with them on TTE 810. Yeah, I mean, I would say take it offline.
Yeah. Email tuning at
we are doing 810, and we will be doing
Yep.
it anyways. We don't need someone to work with it on, but we always do like working, especially with beta testing and things like that.
Yep.
What's the average drivetrain loss you guys are seeing on B9 3.0Ts on your dyno? We estimate it
It's yeah. We
based on
we do our best to get as close as we can to the factory. Obviously the factory published power numbers at the engine. On the B9, I believe that worked out to be around 17 or 18% by red line. And it's not a straight, it's also the other thing you have to keep in mind is that drivetrain loss is not just a number.
no.
We have
parasitic.
to, it's parasitic loss. So that's going to increase with, as RPMs go up. All of your gear interfaces, the number of times the gears are interfacing and the temperatures and the forces that they're interfacing with are going to change things. So, it's not simple, but we've got it pretty well ironed out that we're basically dead on the nose on these, I think, for
Yeah, it's like
for the
if you get on an
numbers.
exercise bike and you set it to 50% resistance, and you can pedal at a cadence of 70, and then you can pedal at a cadence of 120. You're going to use a lot more energy at the 120 cadence because you're interacting more with that resistance by having to pedal faster. So every time you pedal, you interact with that resistance, and you're losing more and more as you pedal.
And you can see where how we calculate this out too. If you want to be clever and do some math, look at any of our dyno charts. Take our crank numbers versus our wheel numbers. These are direct. We derive these directly from our dyno. We don't do any wizardry on them other than this simple drivetrain loss thing to get a conversion from crank to wheel. And you'll see it's not outside the realm of what we would expect. So yeah, I think the B9 is around 18% at most.
Yeah.
And
But there's this.
that's why we publish two numbers too. It's like here's what we measured at the wheels, here's what it should be at the crank.
Like you could do this thought process where it's like people are like, well, on my 400 horsepower engine, there is 100 horsepower of loss because it does 300 wheel. So there's 100 horsepower static loss in the drivetrain. Well, then if you put you're telling me if you put a 100 horsepower engine in that car, it wouldn't be able to move.
Grind to a halt. Yeah.
You would have to go to wide open throttle acceleration, and it would never even until you got to like 105 horsepower. Then you'd have a 5 horsepower car. So you could put a 5 horsepower engine in a B9 S4 and drive it around. What's the drivetrain? It's 1 horsepower. It's some amount, but there's no built-in like static amount of loss in the drivetrain. So you have to keep this in mind too. Typically, as you make more and more power, the loss doesn't scale up with it either.
Right.
It could level off.
Yeah, there are like I guess some fixed losses. Some you're going to get wheel down to like tire to dyno interface. Losses are a thing, and that's more vehicle speed dependent than horsepower dependent at times. So there's a lot of stuff that can interfere with it.
Generally, I'd say the discussions I see and what people say about this out in social media or whatever is way too simplified, and the complexity isn't truly understood.
It's seemingly simple, but very complex if you want to get something somewhat accurate.
Yeah.
And we don't claim to be 100% accurate. We give as best of a estimation as we can.
Someone's asking about, do our open top intakes flow more than our closed? Yes, generally our open intakes flow more because they have less filter shrouding and more flow area. So if you're looking for the highest flowing option, the fact that the top is open, even though it's not like open to the exhaust manifold, but it's generally open against the hood, and there's a little bit of gap between the top of the airbox and the hood. It's pretty much impossible to generate any pressure drop inside our open air boxes because there's just all air can always come in from various places. And when you have a closed air box, you have a fixed flow area, and you can quickly max that out depending on the design. I'm not saying ours max out, but
everything
stands to reason that you will generate some pressure drop because the flow area, the amount of air that can come in to replace the air getting sucked out, is potentially limited by this defined flow cavity that comes into the airbox. So yeah, and the open air boxes as a result are also louder, and you get more cool induction engines.
I think we are
think we're
out.
out.
Yep.
Yeah.
And we got, yeah, sorry if we didn't get to your question. There's a whole pile there. We
Mhm.
will try and catch up with them next week if we have a moment. But we do try and hit the questions that come in live while we're here. So, yep.
Yep. All right. Thanks, everybody. Cheers. See you next week.
Thanks, guys.